A new Zenith carburetor. It's going to be a great alternative to rebuilding your carburetor. Makes for a quicker, easier install. All you need are some basic hand tools, a little bit of Teflon tape, and we always recommend using a fuel filter kit to protect your investment. This is also going to be using all new parts. If you use a rebuild kit on your old carburetor, you're not going to get that advantage. First thing we're going to do is make sure we shut our fuel off. That way when we remove our fuel line here, we don't have gas going everywhere. Next, we're going to remove the choke cable with a flathead screwdriver. Next, we're going to remove the low idle control arm. This one has a C-clip on it. Careful not to lose it. And we'll take out the pin. And we can remove it like that. After that, we're going to go ahead and take off the governor control rod using a 7/16 and a 3/8 wrench. After that, we're going to go ahead and remove the oil bath. This is going to use 9/16. I use a wrench and a socket, and then flathead screw to take off the hose clamp. Next, we're going to disconnect the fuel line. This one just uses a hose clamp. Now we're ready to remove the carburetor. This just uses a 1/2" wrench to get the 2 nuts holding it on. Now we can remove the carburetor. And just like that, it's out. Now that we got the old carburetor removed, we can prep everything to get the new one installed. This is the new carburetor, and it comes with a new gasket as well. So we are going to take all of the old gasket off of our manifold. I'm just going to scrape this. We're going to transfer over the fuel fittings from our old carburetor to our new one. And for this job, I always recommend using a new fuel filter. We have them in our fuel line kit, the BW2304. When we put these parts on, we want to use Teflon tape, and we want to be absolutely certain that that tape does not go past the threads of the fuel fitting where it can get into the carburetor itself. If it does, it's probably going to make it leak. You want the fittings to snug up, but you do not need to crank on them. They're a tapered thread, so it's going to seal itself. We're also going to put Teflon on our fuel filter itself in the same manner, where we make sure that we're only getting it on the threads and we're not going beyond the threads where it could get into that fuel fitting. just a little bit snug, not too tight. The old carburetor on this one has studs instead of using bolts, so I'm going to use 2 nuts to remove the studs. With the 2 nuts in place, we're going to tighten them up against each other. And then we can get onto the bottom nut here and break the stud free. And then with the stud out, we can loosen the nuts away from each other. Now that we have our studs removed, we're going to go ahead and install them into our new carburetor. Don't forget the gasket. And we're ready to put it on the machine. Installation is going to be just the opposite of removal. Make sure you got a new gasket on. We're going to put it in place. And we'll put our nuts on. We can snug everything up with our 1/2-inch wrench. With the carburetor mounted up, we're going to put our fuel line back on. And tighten our hose clamp. Good. Next, we're going to go ahead and install our low idle arm. Next, we're going to hook up our governor control rod. Don't forget the lock washer. These don't need to be overly tight, just snugged up enough to not go anywhere. That's good. Then we're going to loosen our connections for our choke cable. We might need some pliers to hold this one. And last thing is we're going to reinstall the oil bath. And don't forget to tighten the hose clamp. And it's easy as that to install the Zenith carburetor.